Good evening, everybody. I'm Jambo. Mambo. Muko area. Hata mimi niko area. Kwanza, what language do you speak? Tuongee Kiswahili ama tuongee Kiingereza? Ati Italiano. Waheshimiwa mawaziri mlio hapa, ndugu principal secretaries na Wakenya wenzangu, mimi nimefurahi sana kufika hapa jioni ya leo. And in the interest of those who may not understand Kiswahili, I want to say how grateful I am to have this engagement with fellow citizens of the Republic of Kenya here in Rome. And looking at the numbers here, I didn't know that it was possible to have a rally in Rome. You know, Rome looked like it was far. But I think because of the growing diaspora community, not just here in Italy, but globally, we are very proud that when we find moments like this to share as people who come from one country, to share matters to do with our motherland and all the other issues that are necessary for you who work in the diaspora. I am very proud of what I have seen the Department for Diaspora Affairs doing, and it validates the request that was made by Kenyans that it is correct to have a department or a ministry that engages Kenyans in the diaspora. I think that request was not in vain. It is now clear to me that the request that was made by the people of Kenya was right, and it was the correct thing to do. We will continue with the leadership of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to engage citizens like yourselves in the diaspora, and I must congratulate all of you for the contribution you're making to wherever it is that you work, but much more importantly, the contribution you're making to our country. As the Prime Cabinet Secretary has said, we have, I've just appointed an ambassador to the Holy See because of the importance of Vatican. We have many students here who go to college here. We have many priests, and recognizing that the church plays or played then and even now a very important part in nation building. It was just important that we deepen the relationship between Kenya and Vatican. And I'm very happy that shortly, in a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, we will have a new ambassador here who will join you other Kenyans in Italy. Having said that, and I know we were supposed to do this event earlier, but the business forum went longer than any one of us expected. It was very well attended. I was actually very impressed with the attendance, the interest shown by business people, entrepreneurs, investors from Italy, from Europe, in Kenya is immense, and it validates our position as a country, as an investment destination, and all the things that we have done to make sure that Kenya continues to attract investment and to grow and to get people in the private sector to support our development as a country. I am going to break this into just 3 things that I want to say. I want to give you a small report of what is going on in Kenya. I know you read a lot of stories in social media. Most of the stories in social media is is not correct. Most of it is fake. Most of it is misinformation. 3/4 of it is disinformation. And so it's good to get a correct picture of where we are as a country. Number two, I'm going to tell you why I'm here this particular time. And then I'm going to share with you where we want to go. Yes. So number one, we have consolidated the place of Kenya. I am very proud of the progress that we have made. You know, when I made commitments to the people of Kenya during the campaign, many people thought I had overpromised. They actually told me as much. And some of them were sympathizing with me. In fact, I remember one bishop telling me, it's okay. You know, it's understandable that sometimes you make commitments for the sake of getting votes, but you must not keep all of them. You can leave the difficult ones. And I remember telling him, I intend to keep every commitment and promise I made. And I'm happy that we made progress. You know, our economy has done well in terms of real numbers. You know, I remember the first assignment when I came into office, the first assignment that was on my table was how to repay a $2 billion Eurobond. That was the biggest thing on my table. And everybody expected that Kenya was going to default, including the Secretary General of the UN. I remember Antonio Guterres telling me, so, Mr. President, what is going to happen when Kenya defaults? Not if. He said when Kenya defaults. What's going to happen? And I remember telling Antonio Guterres that Kenya will not default. For those of you who follow trends, global trends, in the African continent in 2022, 6 countries were among the most indebted and everybody expected that they will default. Kenya was number 1, Ethiopia, Angola, Zambia, Ghana, and Chad. I can tell you, 5 of those 6 defaulted. Kenya did not. And we just did not default. We made very difficult decisions. Very difficult decisions. And so, we cut down on our budget, we reduced on our spending, we put on hold many projects, we stopped subsidies on unga, we stopped subsidies on fuel. And it was a difficult moment, but it was absolutely necessary. Today, you can see the difference, the sacrifices we made then. Today, our inflation, which was at 9%, is now at 4%. Our exchange rate, which had gone all the way up to 160, is now, for the last 2 years, is at 129. Interest rates that were, James Mwangi will tell you, they were going towards 20-something%. Now interest rates are cooling off around 14%. And in fact, the 91 treasury bills that were at 16% are now at 8%. It's now 7.4. I was just being, the treasury man here is telling me it's actually 7.4, down from 16%. So Our economy is now fairly stable. We can count on it. And we continue to do what we must do. I know because of the fuel crisis that has been occasioned by this war in the Middle East, there is a bit of disruption there, but we are trying to manage that disruption so that doesn't significantly affect our economy. But I can say with confidence that the sacrifices we made in 2022 are giving us results. Today, we have gained respect. The credit rating agencies that had put Kenya in a very difficult position, today each one of them are now saying a different story. In fact, they are giving us, they are elevating our credit ratings, Standard & Poor's and all the other credit rating agencies. That was my first assignment, to make sure that we have a stable economy, because if we do not have a stable economy, it is difficult to do anything else. I had to do another two very important things. I made a commitment that we are going to make access to credit, especially for the very bottom of our pyramid. I mean, maybe you may not know, but we had close to 7 million Kenyans who had been blacklisted in credit rating agencies, CRBs. We took a decisive step, negotiated with the telcos and all the lenders in that space, and we exited all the 7 million Kenyans. We transitioned them into the Hustler Fund space, and we saved them from being blacklisted in the credit rating bureaus. The second item we did was to build our own resources for the future, because as we think about the economy, those of you who are students of economy will know that investment is a function and a product of savings. If you do not have savings, you run a very high risk of not having any investments to make. So what did we do? We had originally changed the legal framework, but there was court issues. We sorted out the court issues. We changed the contribution structure at NSSF. And today I can proudly tell you that our savings as a percentage of GDP is growing. NSSF for 60 years had saved 312 billion Kenya shillings. But in 2 years, because we have changed the contribution structure from 2023, we have moved resources in NSSF from 312 billion Kenya shillings to 670 billion today. Next year, we will have 1 trillion shillings savings in our. And I am very confident that in 5, 10, 15 years, we will be borrowing from our own resources rather than going to China and all the other places to borrow money. That is how countries are changed. You build your own reserves. What we have been doing all the years is to consume all the money we have, and then we go and borrow from those who know how to save. And we pay an arm and a leg for it. So that you know, for all the money we borrow from all over the place, what percentage of our revenues are used to service debt? Almost. Yes. So you see, we spend quite a chunk of our resources to service foreign debt. So it is very important that we rethink who we borrow from, whether we should borrow or whether we should save our own resources and use a different development model to grow our country and to develop public infrastructure. It is the reason why in our manifesto we said we are going to have the National Infrastructure Fund, which is going to give us a different model of developing our country. And I'm very proud that finally we have a law that is the National Infrastructure Fund. I will tell you shortly how that works. Number two, we had to sort out agriculture. You know, for those of you who remember, in 2022, there were too many people in the streets with furias in their heads talking about unga and the unga prices that time. The unga prices were around 250 shillings to 2 kilogram bags, a 2 kilogram bag of unga. We've since worked on the agriculture sector, and we've done 4 things that are significant. Number one, we have changed the model from subsidizing consumption to supporting production. So instead of subsidizing unga, we subsidize fertilizer. Makes a whole difference. So we reduced the cost of fertilizer from about 7,000 shillings a 50 kilogram bag to now 2,500, and we have seen tremendous growth in production. Whether it is coffee, tea, maize, wheat, sugarcane, we've seen exponential growth in production. Just to give you an example, we were producing about between 40 and 43, 44 million bags of maize. Last year we produced 70 million bags. This year we are on course to produce between 75 and 80 million bags, because we are putting our subsidies in the right place. I remember having a conversation with the World Bank when they came to ask me, Mr. President, why are you subsidizing fertilizer? It is not the right thing. I told them, you know, it makes the difference between us being able to produce more and keep our streets less noisy, or producing less. In fact, they were trying to persuade me that, oh, you know, okay, you can subsidize for the small farmers, but the commercial farmers, you should not. But then I told them, look, who produces for the common mwananchi? It is not the small-scale farmers. The small-scale farmers produce to eat. It is the large-scale farmers that produce for our people living in towns. So if you don't subsidize that commercial farmer, you will not have food for the people living in Nairobi, in Kibra, and all the other places. So we finally agreed that what we were doing was the right thing. Number two, we decided that we are going to get rid of all the brokers and cartels and conmen in our farming ecosystem. There were people there mismanaging our fertilizer. We got rid of them. There were others, we gave them jobs to sell fertilizer. They went and sold stones. They were chased. We had people for those of you who come from the sugar belt, we had, chronic characters there who mismanaged the whole sugar industry. We got rid of them. For those of you who are in the coffee sector, we had characters who were in the coffee sector who had monopolized and created a big cartel. One person has a license to be a farmer. He also has a license to be a miller. He also has a license to be a broker. He also buys at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. He has a license, one person. So we got rid of that, and we said you can only have one license. And the difference is there for all of us to see. So we got rid of the cartels. We got rid of the consumption subsidies and instead facilitated fertilizer subsidy to facilitate production. And there is a big difference in the agricultural sector. We're producing more maize, we're producing more tea, we're producing more coffee, we're producing more sugarcane. And just because of the reforms we have carried out in the agricultural sector, our sugar production has gone up from 500,000 metric tons to 815 metric tons last year. And those COMESA safeguards we have been chasing for 20 years. I can tell you, in another 2-3 years, Kenya will be a net exporter of sugar. We've licensed 5 new sugar companies and mills because and I'm happy that the fellow licensing is sitting right at the corner there. 5 new companies. And that whole sugar sector is changing. For those of you who know about coffee, coffee was selling at 50 shillings a kilo in 2022. Today, it is selling at 120, 140, 160. And part of the reason why I'm here is for us to agree on how we take that up. We can double the prices of coffee. We can move it from 160 to 300 per kilo if we do it right. That is already, ask any farmer what the price of coffee is today in Kenya per kilo. So we've changed that. Our milk people are in good space. Our tea people are in good place. And we decided a third thing to do is to open new markets. We've just concluded and signed off with Lee here, the Chinese market for our tea, our coffee, our avocados, our macadamia, our agricultural products. Now we have a new market of close to 1 billion people. And already the first consignment left Nairobi, and we are looking at how to make that better. We've signed off the CEPA with UAE. We are negotiating almost at the tail end with the American market. When are we concluding, Lee? Shortly? Yeah, after this war, this war. This war has come with many problems. So we want to expand into new markets and see and improve our product. Then number 3 was the assignment to correct the challenges we have in our education sector. We had 3 significant challenges in our education sector, actually 4. 1, we had CBC that brought many complications to teachers and parents, and most parents were complaining that they were being made to work at night by their kids, or you have been told to make a car, so they were cutting boxes at night to make the car for tomorrow morning. And many parents did not like that. I wish there were parents like the ones who are sitting here. You know what it means to have a kid. You have to follow what they are doing in schools, India. Yes. But back at home, the kids belong to the teacher and the school. So we had a challenge with the number of teachers. We had a challenge with the classrooms. And we had a challenge with the funding model for our university and TVET institutions. Those were the 4 significant challenges that we were faced with. I can confidently tell you we've sorted out all of them. Number 1, we've straightened the CBC. We now have competence-based education and training. We have worked with the stakeholders. We had more meetings, we engaged the stakeholders, we engaged teachers, and that problem is now been sorted. Number two, we've hired the largest number of teachers ever hired by any administration. We have hired 100,000 teachers. You know, we used to hire 5,000 teachers per year. 5,000 per year. In 3 years, we have hired 100,000. So the 100,000 teachers we have hired, if we hired in the pace at which we used to hire, it will take us 20 years. And we are scheduled to hire another maybe 16 or 20,000 teachers before the end of this year. Just to make sure that every child in school has what it takes to learn. We've also built, I want to thank our partners, working with the World Bank and other partners. We've built 23,000 new classrooms to accommodate more students, specifically in Nairobi. You know, many of you may not know, Nairobi being the capital city of Kenya, has one of the most serious challenges of learning spaces in Kenya. Nairobi, the city, especially in the informal settlements. So we've tried to sort that out. In fact, I had to provide an extra 1 billion shillings beyond CDF to just take care of Nairobi learning infrastructure. Number three, we changed the funding model. The funding model that was there was not working. In fact, for those of you who follow university education, in 2022, we had 23 universities who were declared technically insolvent. They could not pay salaries, they could not pay suppliers, they could not pay statutory deductions, NSSF, and all the others. We've changed the funding model. We've increased our budget for education from about 500 billion in 2021-2022 to 702 billion last year. And in the coming year, we are proposing a budget of 765 billion. Again, to make sure that education does not become a privilege for those who can afford, rather it becomes a right for every child in Kenya. We have also, the fourth or fifth assignment was to sort out healthcare. I made a commitment to the people of Kenya that we were going to sort out healthcare because it was not working. NHIF was a privileged club. Those who can afford, those who have jobs, those are the people who got into NHIF. And it was just between 7 and 8 million Kenyans who could access. It took us almost 2 years of, trying to figure out, because this NHIF thing, we had tried twice and failed. Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, when he was Minister for Health under the Grand Coalition, or that government tried, it didn't work out. It collapsed. We tried as Jubilee. In fact, among the big four in Jubilee, one of them was universal health coverage. And we didn't succeed. In fact, we ran a pilot in 4 counties. We ran a pilot in Kisumu, I think it was Nyeri, Machakos, and Isiolo. And that pilot actually failed. And it was declared it has failed. So, but I always knew that this was something doable, and it was the right thing to do, because the statistics told us that close to 1 million Kenyans went below the poverty line because of hospital bills, selling property, Harambes left, right, and center, and all the others. So finally, we got the template right, in my opinion. Instead of having one law under NHIF, we now have 5 pieces of legislation that underpin our healthcare provision. And we are making phenomenal progress. I'm very happy with it because we now have 30.6 million Kenyans registered under SHA, up from 7 or 8 million under NHIF. Today is Monday, right? Today, Monday in Kenya, we are paying 13 billion shillings to all our facilities from SHA today for just this month. Listen, NHIF used to collect about 28, 29 billion shillings every year. SHA, we are paying 13 billion shillings just in 1 month. There's a world of a difference, right? Because we have changed how people contribute. We have digitized the whole space. We have created a new framework. And if you listen carefully, today in every part of Kenya, there are testimonies of SHA paying for citizens. You will hear in that village, SHA paid 20,000, SHA paid 50,000, SHA paid 100,000, SHA paid 1 million, SHA paid 2 million. There is Harambes, WhatsApp groups to raise money for people in hospital are going down. And I want to tell you that in the coming year and a bit, we will completely forget about Harambes, people selling property, people selling their livestock to go and pay hospital bills. And that's the job of a year and a half, you know, that's just a job of a year and a half. So that space is going on well. There are still areas that we can improve on, and we are. And finally, let me mention something about jobs. You know, jobs is a big thing. You know, you go to every family, you go to every homestead. We have kids who finished Form 4. We have those who have come out of college. We've got those who have come out of university. And there is, you know, anxiety with parents. What do we do with children? And I remember saying that Waswahili wanasema ukiona vyaelea vimeumbwa. There are no jobs that happen. They have to be created. And creating jobs has to be deliberate and intentional. You know? It's good to grow the economy. That's okay. You know, it's expected that when the economy grows, jobs become available. But that is not a straight line like that. You have to be deliberate about sectors of the economy that you stimulate because they have the potential to create more jobs than other sectors. And it is the reason why we have done 4 things. When I pushed for housing, many citizens, not citizens actually, leaders were asking me, who told you Kenyans need houses? Everybody has their home. Why are you obsessed with this housing thing? But you see, the irony is that in every manifesto of every political party, in the last 25 years, housing has always been a permanent feature. In the last election, housing was in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. Housing was in the Azimio manifesto, complete with the percentages of how Kenyans should contribute. Because everybody knows that that is the right thing to do. But when it came to the doing,